today. Maybe he plays piano or organ or something. Anyhow, test Friday, come hell or high water. I know you guys have other tests Friday as well. I apologize, but everybody's trying to pack it in, especially us semester teachers. Okay. Guys, we finished the Battle of the Bulge yesterday, or last session. And so that ended in January of 45. So now we finally reached 1945. Okay. So that was January. February, they're going to have the meeting of the Big Three. I don't know if you guys grew up watching Sesame Street or not, but which one of these is not like the other? Right? One is a communist dictator that is responsible for the death of millions of his own people. The others are two democratically elected presidents or prime minister, yes? Okay, so as we get into this, guys, this Yalta conference. Yalta is a resort town in Crimea. You guys know where Crimea is in Ukraine? You guys, the Black Sea over here. There's a little peninsula that comes down here. Okay, Yalta is on that peninsula. Okay, it's a little resort town. Now, Stalin claims a fear of flying. So he's going to make these two old men travel halfway across the globe for the three of them to meet. That's convenient. I mean, Roosevelt will be dead within 2 months. Churchill's no spring chicken, is he? Look at him. Okay? And of course, they're all sitting. Why? Because of Roosevelt. Remember, Roosevelt's paraplegic. Okay? Now, and he's traveling halfway across the globe. Okay? Now, what I want to talk about with you guys today, this is really important moving forward, post-war. So the decisions that are made at Yalta will affect, we're still feeling the effects of these decisions today. Okay? A lot of these decisions at the end of the war are going to impact hundreds of millions of people. Okay? So first off, Churchill asked to meet with Roosevelt before they went out to Russia. Roosevelt would not meet with Churchill. Now, we can only guess too as why, because I've never been able to find out why they wouldn't meet. So, the two Democratic leaders to, have a united front against this communist dictator. Are you with me? So we can only guess. Let me give you 3 guesses. 1, Roosevelt is tired of Churchill. Churchill's been bugging Roosevelt since 1939. Like, hey, you need to help the Europeans out here. This Hitler's a bad guy. 1940, Battle of Britain, right? We need help. We need supplies. We need help. You guys need to get in this war. Come on, Roosevelt. This sort of stuff. So maybe Roosevelt's just tired of Churchill. Or maybe Roosevelt doesn't want Stalin to think that they're ganging up on him, which would make this meeting difficult. Or possibly the third option could be that Roosevelt was receiving some bad advice with people with bad intentions. Like possibly one of the people advising Roosevelt, just possibly, was a Soviet spy that was working for Stalin and advising Roosevelt. What? Okay. Just give me a few minutes. Okay? And then you can decide what you think for yourself. Okay? Now, lots of big decisions. I've got more on the next slide. But this one here is big. Plans for after the war, unconditional surrender of all our enemies. Now, that means we invade your country, you're out of power, and likely the leaders of both Japan and Germany, are going to jail. Your government will be dismantled and a new one will be created. Now, is this going to make Germany and Japan fight longer and harder, or is it going to make them give up easier? longer and harder. Does this decision mean more Americans are going to die? Yeah, more Germans, more Russians, more Americans, more Japanese, more Brits are going to die because of this decision. But guys, in hindsight, this is the right thing to do. Because look at the world today. Is Germany an ally of the United States? Yeah. Are they a democratic nation? Yeah. Are they prosperous? Yeah. Okay, that's good for the world. Because we haven't had a third world war. Because, you know, Germany started 2 world wars in the first half of the 20th century. And they haven't since. That's good, right? This worked out. Now, what about the Japanese? Are they a peaceful, democratic, capitalistic nation that treat their people with dignity and human rights? Absolutely. In fact, you could put Japan on a list in the top 5 of best allies of the United States. I might put them in the top 3 of the best friends that we have in the world, Japan. Okay, so in hindsight, this worked out. Now, remember at the end of World War I, Germany was forced to pay $33 billion in reparations. Remember that? What did that lead to? The rise of Hitler in World War II. So what? Are we going to do that again? That would be stupid, right? Okay. Spoiler alert. We will not, the British won't, the French won't demand reparations. The Soviet Union will. Okay. Good? All right. So we go to this next slide, guys. And so at this meeting, these are the things they're discussing. Notice I got to turn the lights on. Okay, this is a good long answer question on a test. Okay, this is hi. Hello. Okay, catch you up real quick. The last slide was Yalta Conference, Stalin, Churchill, and Roosevelt. Okay, and they're making some really big decisions about the end of the war. One is unconditional surrender of all of our enemies, means we're going to invade, take over, and dismantle their governments. Okay. Now look at this political cartoon in the back. You got Stalin here, right? Reaching for Europe, reaching for China. Okay. See India on the table. You got Uncle Sam here going, and then Churchill going, okay. This little character here is like the cartoonist signature. Okay. So Stalin on his home turf hosting this conference. Guys, he's going to put Churchill and Roosevelt at opposite ends of the resort. He's going to hold these meetings at sometimes late at night, okay, making it difficult on the 2 old men. So let's look at what Stalin wanted. Stalin wants Poland to be communist. What did Churchill and Roosevelt say? No. Can anybody tell me, was Poland communist after World War II? Yeah. For the next 40 years. Who was growing up, by the way, there in Poland? JP2, Pope John Paul II was growing up there, okay? Under the control of the Nazis, and then under the control of the communists, okay? Stalin wanted half of all the reparations. And Russia had been devastated. There's no question. Now, some of that devastation occurred at their own hands. You know, the scorched earth practice, right? He promised to declare war on Japan 3 months after victory in Europe. I should really let you write these down. Can you stop and listen? You got number 3 down? Let's talk about this. Stalin promises to declare war on Japan 3 months after victory in Europe. VE Day is May 8th, 1945. Okay? So, May 8th to June 8th, 1 month. July 8th. August 8th, 1945, victory in Europe. 3 months later, August, okay, May to August, Stalin keeps his promise to declare war on Japan, okay? Does anybody know what happens on August 6th, 2 days before that, 1945? We dropped the first atomic bomb on Hiroshima. 3 days later, Nagasaki. In between, on the 8th, Stalin declares war. This is called Operation August Storm. Stalin will begin to move his troops into China. Before the Japanese surrender on the 16th, the Soviets will have troops in the Korean Peninsula. North Korea is still communist today. Yes? Had we dropped the atomic bombs 2 weeks earlier, there would be no North Korea. It would only be Korea. And it wouldn't be communist. See the importance of these dates? Okay? And the fact that we felt like we needed Stalin to defeat the Japanese. In reality, we didn't need Stalin. Now, we needed him to defeat the Germans. I mean, what they did on the Eastern Front, they suffered a lot. You know, I mean, the Russians did. But in the end, with the atomic bomb, guys, we did not need the Russians. North Korea is still with us. They have an atomic bomb. They're launching missiles off the coast of Japan as we speak. You know what I mean? Like the last, couple of years. Okay? They're an ally of China, who, oh, by the way, is also communist now, as of 1949. Okay, so communism, guys, typically spread through revolution, as it did in Cuba, as it did in Russia, okay, as it did in Vietnam. But this is an opportunity for Stalin to spread communism through conquering other nations or imposing communism on them. So basically, guys, once the Red Army goes into Eastern Europe and North Korea, in Eastern Europe's case, they don't leave for 40 years. In North Korea, they still haven't left. You know what I mean? I mean, the Russians aren't still there, literally, but the communists are. Yes? So these decisions are huge. So he promises to join the UN, the United Nations, after the war. He does. So some of these promises he's going to keep. Some of them he won't. We're going to allow him to take some Japanese islands and Outer Mongolia. Yes. What? Outer Mongolia? Where the heck's that? This big yellow blob right here is Outer Mongolia. Okay? You know what's in Outer Mongolia? Nothing. Just a few Mongolians. Okay? George W. Bush was the first American president to visit Outer Mongolia. It was back in like 2007 when he was really just looking for somebody that liked him. Because most places in the world were pissed at him. Even many of our friends. This is the lie. This is the big lie. Okay? He promised not to interfere in Eastern Europe. We take him at his word. This is a mistake. They felt they had no choice. We needed the Soviet armies to defeat Germany and Japan. And for the next 40 years, the free world will pay a price for Stalin's lies. So, can you write about the Yalta Conference on the test? One of three. There's only 3 long answers. Okay. Yeah.
After they felt on to
They felt like they had no choice, that they needed Soviet armies to defeat Germany and Japan. And for the next 40 years, the free world will pay a price for Stalin's lies. Okay. When you're ready. Last year, when you guys were juniors, you were taking English class. English department has you read a book called The Crucible. How did you read that? Did you go to the game Saturday? That was awesome, huh? Such a great game. Great outcome. Cool, man. Jerry's World. That place is huge, huh? Yeah. I've never been there. Yeah, I like the talk. Were you? Yeah. So cool. Man, I'm not a K-State fan. I was pulling for him. Yeah. Did you read The Crucible? Did you read it?
I don't really know what it's about, though.
You actually read it? It's about the Salem witch trials.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Read it? Read it?
I didn't actually.
You actually read it? You read it?
I haven't read a book since then.
Okay, dude. All right, listen. So when you were learning about the Salem witch trials, right? Your English teacher may have brought, are we good here? This up. You remember this? Now, who'd you have? Cass. Did all you have Cass? Okay, Krager.
At Collins.
Did she bring up McCarthyism? Who'd you have? Honors English? Oh, she had a regular. Take honors. Cass really challenges you how to write, doesn't she? Yeah. Yeah. Huh? It's a lot. But, like Lily told me, she wrote a bit, because you have to take English in college unless you do the AP. Okay? You got to take, everybody's got to take English again. And she said, like, her professor, this is an engineering college, so it's a bunch of math and science kids. You know. Her professor was like, this is really good. And Lily's like, I'm not that good at writing. You know what I mean? So she thanked, but she gave credit to Mrs. Cass. So. Okay, sorry. Back on McCarthyism. Okay, so McCarthyism, guys, is like the Salem witch trials, like where people freak out, right? And they act out of fear, right? And they accuse people of being witches, and then innocent people are burned at the stake, right? I mean, that's the crux of the story. Yes? Freaking crazy. So, guys, in the 1950s, there was a senator named Joseph McCarthy of Wisconsin, okay, who was a Republican. Oh, by the way, was a tail gunner on a B-17 Flying Fortress during the war, an American hero. People loved Joseph McCarthy. He died in disgrace, a lonely man with an ism named after him. And it's not a positive ism, you understand. Remember the first Red Scare we did? Paranoid Palmer? He thought all these Bolsheviks and anarchists were infiltrating the United States, and he was rounding them up, xenophobia, deporting, right? That's the first Red Scare. This is the second Red Scare. And I know it's the 1950s, but it gets started here, okay, because the Soviet Union was spying on us. Were they our ally? Yes. Do allies spy on each other? Yes. Okay, because they want to know what's going on. Now, McCarthyism is the practice of making false accusations of disloyalty, subversion, or treason without proper regard for evidence, or claiming somebody's a witch and burning them. Yes? Okay? It also means the practice of making unfair allegations or using unfair investigative techniques, especially in order to restrict dissent or political criticism. Political criticism. Have any of you guys been following Elon Musk in Twitter the last few days?
Yes.
Okay. There was some information that came out just prior to the 2020 election that was critical of one of the two parties, one of the two candidates' families. It was covered up. Okay? It's being exposed. Continue. This term has its origins in the period known as the Second Red Scare, lasting roughly, this is important, 50 to 56, and characterized by heightened fears of communist influence on American institutions and espionage by Soviet agents. Tradecraft. Originally coined to criticize the anti-communist pursuits of Republican U.S. Senator Joseph McCarthy of Wisconsin, McCarthyism soon took on broader meaning, describing the excess of similar efforts. The term is also now more generally used to describe reckless, unsubstantiated accusations, as well as demagogic attacks on the character and patriotism of political adversaries. Now, when Donald Trump got the nomination of the Republican Party in 2016, the FBI sent agents to interview some of Trump's campaign advisors, most notably General Michael Flynn, who's likely to become the Secretary of Defense. Michael Flynn should have had lawyers present when the FBI interviewed him. They said, you don't need lawyers. So they started asking him questions. They knew some things that Michael Flynn didn't know they knew. And they caught him in a lie. The FBI got a warrant to search the Trump campaign, to do surveillance on him. This is even before he's elected president or taken office. Okay? Some would say unfair investigative techniques. And what did they say? How did Trump get elected in 2016? The Russians colluded with Trump to get him elected. They looked at this for 4 years. They had a special counsel. They spent $40 million, dozens of lawyers with subpoena power. Did they ever find a collusion between President Trump and the Russians? No. But this went on for 4 years. Okay? Did they ever call that McCarthyism? No, because it's only McCarthyism when Republicans do it. Sorry. Now, here's the thing, guys. McCarthy was right. There were a bunch of communists in our government. We know that for a fact. McCarthy's methods were wrong. Okay, when you hold up a piece of paper in front of Congress or the media and you say, I have a list of 100 people that are communists working in the State Department, and you have no list. Okay? This is what it is. You know what I mean? Now, you can go look this up, guys. Joseph McCarthy never outed an individual by name. Said, you are communist. You are. McCarthy never did that. You go look it up. Now, Eisenhower's going to be elected president in 1952. Now, you look at American presidents and you want to find one that's moderate, like not left-wing or right-wing, Eisenhower, probably the most moderate president we've ever had, said this of Joseph McCarthy. He said, thank God somebody is doing it because it's a problem. Now, is it illegal to be a communist in the United States? Is it illegal to be a fascist? A Nazi? Member of the KKK? Is it illegal to be a member of the Black Panther Party? No. None of those are illegal. You understand? But maybe it's not a good idea to have communists in the upper echelons of your government when we have nuclear missiles pointed at each other. So this got blown out of proportion by McCarthy. He was very popular. Many people wanted him to run for president. About a year later, he was disgraced. And like I said, he died a lonely man. Okay. So, what's going on here? Guys, during the war, our army was listening to messages, intercepting messages between Moscow and Soviet agents in the United States. Okay? When the Soviet Union collapsed in 1990, they opened their archives. So remember I told you that story about that town in Poland with half the Jews, okay, that's how we found out about that story when the Soviets opened their archives. We were able to put code names with the information we had, with the information in the Soviet files, to figure out who these spies actually were. Now, this is Whittaker Chambers. Whittaker Chambers, this guy is a confessed Soviet spy. He confessed. And then he wrote a book. This is Whittaker Chambers' book called Witness. I wonder if this is a first edition. Might be worth some money. Seriously. You guys been watching Pawn Stars? 1952. First printing. Ooh, no. American history. All right. Okay. I'm going to hang on to that. Okay. So, Whittaker Chambers, outed this guy. This is Hist. This is the guy that was advising Roosevelt at Yalta. So, he's a Soviet spy being paid by Stalin, advising the President of the United States on Russian soil, deciding the fate of Europe after the war. Did your English teacher tell you that? Now, let me read this to you guys, okay? We now understand that communist infiltration in the U.S. government during the 30s and 40s was real and damaging. The opening of some Soviet archives and the release of the Venona Project files, which are intercepted wartime and post-war messages between Moscow and communist agents in the United States, confirm much of what Whittaker Chambers and another ex-communist, Elizabeth Bentley, told the House Un-American Activities Committee. Okay, remember, Senator McCarthy was a senator. He was not in the House. The Un-American Activities Committee was formed to check the loyalty of American citizens to their country. Now, generally, I don't like this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, are you a loyal American? Have you been? Or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party? Well, frankly, sir, that's none of your business, right? That's none of your business. So the Congress was calling people before them and asking them that question. That was not McCarthy. That was the House Un-American Activities. Now, stay with me here. Now, if you were looking for a communist in the 1950s in the United States, where might you look? How about Hollywood? So they were bringing in Hollywood actors, directors, and asking them these questions. So guys, that looks Stalin-esque to me. You know what I mean? Like you're at, are you loyal to the U.S. government? Okay. Now, here's the thing. Hollywood's making movies, which could be seen as propaganda, right? We're locked in a Cold War with the communists, which could turn hot at any time, and we could have a nuclear war. And you're in Hollywood making these pro-communist movies. So they wanted to find out whether you were a communist or not. It didn't look good. You know what I mean? It just stunk. It kind of smelled bad. And so, yeah, people were blacklisted. Actors, directors never worked in Hollywood again if they were connected to the Communist Party. Not by the government. The government didn't fire them. Just they didn't get to work anymore in Hollywood. Or in other words, a term you guys know today, they were canceled. Yes? Like if you're a conservative in Hollywood today, say you're a Catholic pro-life person and you're an actor in Hollywood and you preach it, you tell it like it is. I believe that every life matters. And I believe that there's life at conception. And I think abortion is wrong. Good luck getting a job in Hollywood. Or a job teaching at KU as a professor. Good luck with that as a conservative. Okay? You know what I mean? You guys follow me on that? Okay? So, guys, it's only bad when you do it to lefties. No, it's wrong all the way around. You know what I mean? Now, but fear drives this, yes? Fear drove the Red Scare. It's called a scare, right? Okay, let me continue. Other congressional committees, recent books, The Haunted Wood, Venona Decoding of Soviet Espionage in America and Venona Secrets, provide evidence that American communists successfully infiltrated the State Department, Hist, Treasury Department, the OSS, which is like the CIA, remember Moberg, the catcher and the spy? OSS, Justice Department, Agriculture Department, Commerce Department, Office of War Information, War Production Board, Board of Economic Warfare, the Civil Service Commission, the AAA, the Army, the Navy, Congress, the Manhattan Project. Now, we haven't studied this yet, but you guys know what the Manhattan Project did? That was the one to build the atomic bomb. Okay, which will be later in the slides. But listen, there were 2 Soviet spies working on the bomb. So listen, Stalin knew about the atomic bomb before Harry Truman knew about the atomic bomb. They never even told the vice president about this project until Roosevelt died, like a week after. They said, hey, President Truman, we got to tell you something. I've been working on this bomb in the desert. He's like, what? Oh, okay, cool. Stalin knew about it long before that. Okay? United Nations, the White House. The highest ranking Soviet agents included this guy, Harry Dexter White, number 2 man at the Treasury, Alger Hiss, advising Roosevelt at Yalta. Okay? Duncan Lee, chief assistant to the OSS. This would be like the chief assistant to the CIA director, is a Chinese spy right now. It's insane. Okay? Congressman Samuel Dickstein, Lucy Lane Curie, special assistant to the president, communist spy. The authors of the Venona Secrets go so far to out Harry Hopkins. Remember that name? Harry Hopkins, one of FDR's most trusted advisors as a Soviet agent. If that is true, then the Soviet Union had in place an agent of influence who had the ear of President Roosevelt on every significant issue in policy. So this was 30s and 40s, right? McCarthyism was in the 50s. This went into the 60s. This Red Scare, okay? And your parents and I, and your grandparents, in large part, grew up during this Cold War, okay? And yes, there was fear. But I think after McCarthy was outed as, making some of the stuff up and so forth, saying things that were not true, people they said, all right, that's enough. Okay? And then they named it an ism. Okay? So what was my point, guys, is that, listen, do you think the Chinese are spying on us right now? Guys, you have no idea. You know how much easier it is to steal your secrets than to do the research and development and create technology that we create in this country? It's so much easier to steal it. And do the Chinese care about our copyright protection? No. They can give a rat's ass. Okay, they don't care. Guys, we have been outing money and ideology, okay? People who believe in the idea, the ideals of communism, ideology, and money. These are all Americans. These are not Russians. These are Americans. They're being paid by the Russians. Now the Chinese, they send students in. And then they pay researchers at universities that are doing sensitive research. They give them money, give them secrets. They just busted a guy at KU last year, one of the professors at KU that was taking money from the Chinese. And do you think we're spying on the Chinese? Lord, I hope so. Think we're spying on the Russians? For sure. We spy on friends, and we spy on allies. You guys remember the WikiLeaks stuff, or what's the other guy's name? The guy's in Russia now, Snowden, Edward Snowden. You guys know about any of that stuff? Dude. WikiLeaks, like they're like whistleblowers. They find out what our government's doing and they expose it. He exposed the fact that we had Angela Merkel's, the German chancellor, Angela Merkel's. We tapped her cell phone. It was exposed. Okay? You guys really, 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 really need to pay attention to this stuff. I mean, governments throughout history, you understand, oppress their people. You understand that? This is why we study history, right? Like, throughout history, people get power and they want to hold on to that power. And how do you hold on to power? By controlling information and controlling people. You understand? Where do we get most of our information today? You. That's dangerous. And I'm serious, because you need to fact check me. This is true. But you still need to fact check. Okay? Where do I get most of my information? Since I'm the one providing it to you. Where do I get my news? On my phone. You guys all have one of these, right? So you have the same access to information that I do. Yes, every day. Like every minute of every day. Okay? You think the Chinese would love to be able to go on here and find out what's true? Or an opposite opinion of what their government says? You know who's not letting them do that? Tim Cook, who's the CEO of Apple, is not allowing the Chinese people to see the truth about their own government. Tim Cook of Apple is helping the Chinese Communist Party control his people and take away their human rights. Ban me, YouTube. Cancel me. Dude, that's exactly what happened during COVID, guys. Somebody had a different opinion. What about the lab leak? This is the next shoe to drop. Listen to me. I know the stuff with Twitter and the laptop, okay? That's kind of a big deal. But dude, COVID, as soon as COVID, it started in China, right? Have we had any hearings in Congress about the origins of COVID? That's about to happen in the House. Because the Republicans are taking back the House. Okay, now, where did COVID originate? In China. Wuhan is the city, right? Where did the virus come from? Did it come from the wet market? From bat to human virus transmission? Or was it created in a laboratory, the Wuhan Institute of Virology, which we were funding with our tax dollars, the National Institutes of Health run by Anthony Fauci, okay? Did they create this virus? And I'm not saying they leaked it on purpose. I'm not saying that. There's no evidence of that. But there's lots of evidence that this was created in a laboratory and escaped the laboratory and killed millions of people around the planet. Shouldn't we know how that happened? Why are we not investigating? And then when people question whether it came from the lab or the wet market, no. The experts say it came from a wet market, from transmission from bat to human. No, it didn't come from a lab leak. And they shut it down. The government said, nope. And the social media companies, NBC, CNN, everybody said, including Fox News, said, nope, it came from a wet market. Anthony Fauci interviewed this weekend. Is there a possibility that came from a lab leak? He goes, yeah, there is, but his tune has changed because he's about to get questioned. And people are going to start digging into this. And if they covered this up, guys, and it was our tax dollars that funded this, what's called gain of function. These viruses exist. But when you manipulate them, and you guys take chemistry, right? You know, in fact, you're trying to change the virus to see how it will respond in different circumstances. And you're creating a virus that spreads very easily. You know what I mean? Like really easy. This stuff needs to be public, man. And the government's trying to shut it down so you don't know the truth. That is the shoe to drop. That's the scam. You know what I mean? The Hunter laptop thing, that's a big thing. Did it impact the outcome of the 2020 election? It could have, for sure. No, it's Russian disinformation. It's Russian disinformation. It's all a lie. Hunter took his laptop to a repair shop. Hunter was doing crack. He was a drug addict. He forgot to go pick it up. The guy reached out to Hunter and said, you left your laptop. Hunter never came back. The guy at the laptop store gave it to the FBI, but he was afraid to, because he looked at it and he's like, holy crap, there's a lot of stuff on here about the vice president's son. Well, he made a copy of it. There's a lot of laws that were broken by the son, not by the father, but there are some emails that indicate that the father was involved in some of the son's business dealings in China, in Ukraine, and other places, all shut down by the media. Because the FBI said, this is Russian disinformation. It's not a real laptop. 1 month before the election in 2020, they shut it down. Twitter shut it down. And Elon Musk now owns Twitter, and so he's exposing it. Okay? Anything illegal there? No. It's a private company. They can do whatever the hell they want. But if the FBI, our government, they're supposed to not take sides. You understand? The Justice Department is supposed to play the middle. I'm going to get in trouble if I post this video. I may not be here next week. I love you. Wish you the best.
It was the Russians.
Guys, I didn't get you, right? I didn't get like this far behind.
I like this.
Guys,
Podcast.
Give us the podcast.
I got distracted.
Start over Christmas break.
Yeah, start over.